For anyone who is new, we try our best to end every one of our podcast episodes with our Ask the Mom segment, where we take a question or multiple questions from our Mom Street community on various Disney topics, and we will answer them for you guys to help you with your future trips. So our question for Ask the Moms this evening is one that I feel like we get asked constantly, is how many days should I plan for my trip to Disney, whether it will be Walt Disney World or Disneyland? We get this question probably weekly, whether it's in our live, on our social media. We see it asked in so many places. So, Kate, what is your input on how many days you should have at the parks?
Okay, so Disneyland in California, I would recommend minimum 3 days, which is 2 in Disneyland and 1 in California Adventure, because in Disneyland, there's 29 attractions. It will take you a while to get through most of those if you want to try to see most of the things. And then there's significantly less in California Adventure, but it's still a really wonderful park you want a full day at, especially with World of Color at the end. So 3 days minimum. I would say if you want to try to do more and you also don't want to be running around trying to just at like a really unmanageable pace, I would recommend 5 days for a really nice, relaxed-ish family vacation where you can take your time and enjoy and see all the things. So 5 days is what I recommend usually for Disneyland for that pace. And Disney World, I usually recommend a solid week there with a rest day in the middle. That's usually where I head for that. More if you want to make it really relaxed and have more rest time. Minimum 4 days if you wanted to visit each park. You got to do 1 park per day, but you'll only see the highlights. You probably won't get to see a lot of it. So what about you, Jackie? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I mean, obviously, I will defer to you for all things Disneyland because I have not experienced that yet. But with Disney World, I totally agree. I think if you're doing 1 park per day, obviously it makes sense to do 4 days. If you're doing 1 park per day and you really want to hit the majority of each park, I would suggest 5 park days, because I would suggest 2 days in Magic Kingdom. If you're not doing a hopper option, you're doing just 1 park per day, I would suggest 5 park days. And maybe one of those days you take an extended break or you do something different. You go to a resort, you don't spend the whole day there. But I really think Magic Kingdom needs a day and a half to 2 days to hit the majority of what that park has to offer. If you're doing a park hopper, you could probably get away with 4 days in the parks, because you would have some ability to hop back to parks if you didn't finish everything, depending on your lists and where you want to go and all of that. But I would say 4 days minimum, but I would say something closer to probably 5 to 6 to really, really be able to get through everything at the parks.
Yeah, I agree. I usually do what we do is 5-day park tickets. We do we do travel days on the other side. So it makes it 7 days total, but they're traveling in and out. And those half days, we do something like Disney Springs or resorts or something that's not park, or swimming at the hotel, just enjoy. And then we do those 5 days, and the day in the middle, we sleep in and do a half resort day and maybe do an evening in the parks or something like that. So I agree.
Yeah, and we've done stuff like that before. We typically will do an entire day off, just because for us, it's a lot cheaper if you don't have to pay for that park ticket if you're not going to use the whole day. That's just kind of the way that we approach it. We really want to make the most of our money that we're putting towards those park tickets, so we want to make sure we're using them open to close. Obviously, those of you that maybe go multiple times a year or have annual passes, things like that, it gets a little bit different with kind of how you fluctuate those park days with that. But we really try to make sure that we do an open and close. So yeah, we typically will do 2 parks, a full day of rest, whether it be swimming in Disney Springs or resorts or whatever, and then our last 2 parks to end the trip. So that's typically what we end up doing.
That's again where park hoppers are great, especially if you have a limited time in the park, but you want to try to go back and hit things you didn't get to. If you're tight on budget, just do 1 park per day for Disney World. It'll be fine and you'll make it. But if you have limited time and you want to get to multiple things, I think Park Hopper is your way to go to try to go back and see a couple things you might have missed.